Here we go. What's up, Totally Naked Nation? It is your girl Dom, and I am always accompanied by some of the great co-hosts in the world. We have Dante Jax and April T. Lee. Woo!
What's up?
And we are totally naked back for another conversation. So I hope all of you guys had a good 4th of July weekend. I know that in this culture, we canceled 4th of July. We went with Juneteenth. So happy Juneteenth, previous Juneteenth. Hmm? What you say,
I didn't
April?
even know we were canceling 4th of July.
Come on. I heard it. People was like, it ain't my Independence Day. So, but if you were celebrating it, happy belated 4th to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy belated
Happy
4th of
birthday.
July.
Yeah, happy birthday, Dante.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, and happy belated birthday to our very own Dante Buxton.
Thank you. I'm 21 years old.
20 how old?
21.
Come through 21. He's the baby of the group, okay?
I'm just joking, everybody. I'm not 21.
Mm-hmm. So listen, we are doing a continuous. Oh, y'all cutting up. Y'all
My hairline.
When we get back together, we gotta cut up. Okay, so listen, we're doing a continuation today from the conversation we had last week the week before, 2 weeks ago now, right? Because our good brother Jax was not able to be part of the conversation, and we couldn't move on from this topic because there's too much going on. So today we're talking about the culture, the cancel culture. Okay, the cancel culture. And in this cancel culture, it brings me to this question, guys, and I need to know how y'all feel about it. Is our current in our current environment, is division inevitable? Because I think so. I mean, in my opinion, I think so. We got the cancel culture, and with this cancel culture, everything that somebody says that the masses don't agree with, they cancel. Anybody who has their own opinion, cancel. Anybody who says, you know what, I don't agree with this, but I agree with this, cancel. We have families that are breaking apart because some people may, identify with agreeing with Trump. Some people may identify with agreeing with Biden. We have some people that taken stances on Black Lives Matter. Some people feel like Black Lives Matter is a knockdown to all lives matter. It's just a lot of different division that's happening in our society today. And I think cancel culture is just making it absolutely worse. What do y'all think?
No, I would agree. I think that the cancel culture is very subjective to, the current times. I think it can be a con, but it can also be a pro. It could be a con in the sense that it can be done through bandwagoning. I think a lot of people bandwagon on specific issues that are quote unquote being canceled, as opposed to really being intentional about it and doing their own research. So if Beyonce does something bad, or is alleged to have done something bad, and it's like, oh no, we canceling Beyonce because we ain't like I heard that she said, or I heard she did, as opposed to really going and do some research. On the other hand, I do think that when the whole cancel culture approach is done right or with intention, I do think that it can move the needle forward to really bring truth to certain things that we should be talking about, or certain people that we should be looking at or questioning. How, as an example, some of our political officials and some of our civic leaders who may be trying to really do things to our community, inner city communities that may be seen as marginalized, and not really supporting them as they once said through their campaign or something. So I think cancel culture, has its pros and it has its cons.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes with cancel culture, we might be a little too quick to cancel without knowing all of the facts. And this kind of piggybacks off of what you said, Dante. It's like you have to do the research and know where you stand, and not follow the masses just because everybody's doing it, or just because everybody's not liking this particular thing. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's where you stand. And this is where we have to know self and know, how we feel about a certain person or a certain aspect in culture.
Because some stuff you just should stay in your lane. Some stuff doesn't
Correct.
require your opinion. Some
At
stuff does
all.
not require your opinion or what you feel about it. Period. Stay in your lane. God didn't create us to all have the same opinion. He didn't create us to think alike. He didn't create us to behave alike. He created us all uniquely to be a different part of the body of Christ. And I think that, if you are the perceiver, then you don't need to be worried about what the give and gift do. Because you, first of all, that's not even your lane. You don't even understand giving. You a perceiver. You don't even see it the way the giver see it. So go ahead.
See, but this is the thing. See, now you're talking about something that I don't know if all of our listeners want to. So you might want to put a link in here saying, hey, go ahead and listen to this series.
Yes,
that lets them know exactly what you're talking about, so that we all on the same page.
All right, so really quick, let me give you a little context. Okay, so our bishop, he did a series called Hardwire, and Hardwire was basically the breakdown of the main personality types that people carry, to be able to identify that and then be able to communicate with that person at their personality level for effective communication, as well as identifying your own communications, your communication style, and also to be able to recognize your own personality and where you fall in regards to it. So yes, we could definitely link, Impact Church at the bottom or in our description in our comments. That way you guys could go back on the Facebook page and check out the archive of the Hardwired series. Please do it. It is absolutely amazing. Please like, share, and subscribe if you are in here watching this with us. Come on, like. Don't come in here to join the conversation without at least inviting somebody else. Okay. All right. So back to what I was saying, right? So everybody's not going to think the same. So I'm going to bring up a video, right, that I saw. And I said, wait a minute. What? We might be taking it too far. Okay. So I seen a video that someone did on Facebook that was basically, what his name? His name, Sean King. I think that's his name. He is a civil rights, I guess, activist, you could say. And he really speaks out on a lot of the social injustice issues. Primarily what I've seen lately from him is around the police brutality, about topics such as defunding the police. He definitely was on board with the taking down of the statues, of the Confederate statues and things like that. But now, Mr. Sean came up and said, cancel Jesus. He said, cancel Jesus. Okay. He said, because the pictures and the statues of Jesus is a symbol for white supremacy. And he said he wanted to take it down. Listen, Sean said every Jesus picture and every Jesus statue need to come on down. Okay. And thrown away with the rest of the Confederate statues. And I said, hold on. Now, I do see this from both sides. Yeah, okay. My Jesus don't look like the Jesus that's on that picture. And really, let's take it a couple of steps back. It was no Polaroid cameras back in the day. Okay, there was no drawings, there was no paintings that have survived the centuries that we can see to see what Jesus may have really looked like while he walked here on this earth. The Bible does give a depiction, but it doesn't give a depiction of his facial features. It just talks about his hair, and it talks about, things like that to kind of put us in the context of what Jesus could really look like. So you taking down those Jesus pictures of the black Jesus, the white Jesus, the Chinese Jesus, don't matter to me, because Jesus is my Lord and Savior. He lives in my heart. But on the other side of the coin, I just don't want it to be perceived that we're saying cancel Jesus Christ in relation to us having relationship with him, canceling him as our Savior, canceling him as a viable option. Because there is no canceling the creator. There is no canceling the the only God that can really heal our land. There is no canceling that. And when I saw it, I felt like, oh, wait a minute,
So
cancel
when you
going too
like,
far.
all right. So when you say that canceling Jesus and Jesus statues, I guess I mentioned on the show that we did a couple of weeks back that the statues to me, I just in general, I did not necessarily agree with people pulling down the statues. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because to me, and y'all can agree, disagree. To me, I understand that there is history behind those statues. There's history that
Mm-hmm.
our American history is based on slavery. I mean, that's not a secret. It's not
Right.
questionable. We all know that the way that Africans were coming that came over was through the Middle Passage, and so that's not something that we're not privy to having that information. We know that, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was a lot of negative things that occurred during that time. So it's a part of American history, and so for us pulling down statues there, to me, it just seemed like silly. Okay. and and I also think that it deters us away from really the real issues, which is we should be having people really focusing on changing laws or criminal justice laws that incriminate African American males at higher rates and causes mass incarceration that has our young children with a school to prison pipeline. So to me,
Right.
like the focus should be on those things. And I think that we've kind of been distracted by a lot of other things when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
cancel culture. So when you bring up the statue about Jesus, it's like, okay, when is it? Oh, we've taken it too far now. That's how I feel. Like now it's too
Mm-hmm.
far. Because the truth of the matter is, it's like, oh, I mean, Jesus. Is it really about his skin color?
Right.
Is
It
that the
isn't, and it's
message?
not.
Is that what it get? Is that what I'm getting from that spiritual journey? Is that Jesus looks like me, and so I can identify with that particular religion, or I can identify with being a Christian because Jesus looks like me if I'm white. And so that's white supremacy. Or Jesus looks like me if he's black. If I make him black Jesus with the dreads, then that Jesus I can deal with. But it's really
Right.
not about the skin. It's about sin. And that's no color. That's a
That part.
spiritual issue. Is a
Yes.
spiritual issue. And so I think that we're all getting caught up so much in the physical forms of life when there is a spiritual issue, a spiritual battle that we need to be focusing more on. And that's what's causing a lot of the climate that we feel today with the hate. So I
Right.
didn't know they canceled the 4th of July because I celebrated the 4th of July even though I worked. But, at the end of the day, there will be people that will say, your silence is compliance, and so I don't mess with you, and like
Cancel, because
how
you
I feel
cancel
about
the
that.
people too soon. Because just because I okay, so for example, Sister April just said, I don't agree that you take down the statues, even the Confederate statues. So you're gonna cancel my girl? I'm just saying, don't cancel my girl because she has an opinion that is different from this movement that's taking place in our society today. Because at the end of the day, she's still somebody who does great things for her community, great things for the people that's in her life. She is a woman of God, and that and just because she don't think you should tear it down doesn't mean that she stands for injustice either. And so we got to be careful before we start throwing out the cancel word, like the cancel. But you brought up something, April, that I do want to throw out there because people don't want to see it, and I understand because a lot of people, especially if you are not in the body of Christ, you see things very carnal. So you see black, white, you see it, the facts that's being presented in front of you. But I want to throw out something that says that, the enemy wants to see us divided, because when we are divided and we are not in unity, the blessings, the hand of God doesn't move. So the more that we fight, the more that we're not in unity, the more that we are not coming together to pray for one another, the more that we are not coming together to say, listen, the injustice is wrong. Let's get the injustice over with. But there should be, the white people are not better. I heard this saying this weekend too, and I really had to sit down and think about it, but I agree. They said that white privilege is a fallacy, because when you subscribe to white privilege or agree that white privilege is even in existence, you're basically subscribing to, yes, I think that these white people have a certain privilege because the color of their skin that makes them better than me, that makes them smarter than me, that puts them in a better economic position than me. And that's not the truth. We might have a system that is rigged, but white people don't have a leg up just simply because they're white. And I don't plan to subscribe to saying that there's white privilege, because I don't personally agree that there's a white person who's better than me just because they're white.
So
Well,
why is that
I would
so?
go ahead, April.
No, you can go, Dante.
No, I think that white supremacy is real. I
Well, I
think
didn't
that
say white supremacy.
I
I
think
said
White
that
privilege.
white
I'm sorry,
privilege. I
I'm
didn't say
sorry.
white
I
supremacy,
apologize. I
because that's
apologize.
real.
I apologize. White privilege is indeed real. I will share briefly my experience in dealing with white privilege. I went to Bishop Kenny High School, which is predominantly white. I mean, that's public knowledge. You can go and research that for yourself. And there were many, many instances of white privilege. Everything from acceptance into the school. It's a private school, private institution. So everything from acceptance to how we were treated as opposed to, other races or socioeconomic stat for our socioeconomic status. And I didn't grow up poor. So, it was clear discrimination, clear implicit bias, clear delineations based on certain things. And that extended from everything from how you were treated to whether we would allow you or not allow you to watch Barack Obama's inauguration. When Trump was inaugurated, they were watching it. When Bush was inaugurated, they were watching it, but we were not allowed to watch President Obama's inauguration. Why? So I think that there are different things in terms of white privilege. We have access they have access to certain things that they don't. They're first in line for things that we're not. And that's something that, of course, over time has been, why we have to look at why are cops treating African Americans more harshly, even for simple traffic violations or simple speeding violations, as opposed to a white man of the same age or socioeconomic status. A white man who lives in a trailer park, not saying anything against trailer park, but that's a socioeconomic issue. White man living in a trailer park gets pulled over for a traffic ticket, gets a warning. Black man is pulled over for speeding in excess 10 miles over the speed limit, if that, and is beaten and gunned down and killed. So I think that there is white privilege that exists in our communities. I do agree with you that it is taken out of context a lot of times, and it is overanalyzed or over sought after. But it is a major issue that it plagues all communities, no matter how rich or how poor you are.
Mhm. And that
Right.
sounds like to me just more implicit biasness and discrimination that has
Implicit
been
bias
weaved
is
into
generalized stereotype.
people with,
So,
and I'm just saying that because I've had many, and I'm not discrediting anybody's experiences, but I just want to give other experiences as well, that shapes, my personal opinion. I have been pulled over
sure.
in the South by white policemen and still have been let off with warnings, still have been overlooking certain things like, okay, I see you didn't have, you were going over the speed limit. I'll give you a speeding ticket, but I'm not going to give you a ticket because your seatbelt was off or because your address on your license is incorrect. Things like that, things that other people who take their authority to the next level would have really been jumping on and really trying to I guess nail me to the cross for. And then there's other Black people who also had not had total bad experiences with white officers in particular that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, go ahead, Jax.
But nobody's saying that there aren't good officers out there. That's fine. What I'm saying is going to piggyback off of what Dante is saying, and it's not saying that one race is right. It's not saying that one race is wrong. What we're saying is that there is implicit bias just because you're white. Has nothing at all to do with this person being this and this person being that. But there are things that you are privileged to because you are white. And the thing is, it's not something that a white person it's how can I put this? I'm trying to make sure that I'm able to convey this correctly.
I got you.
When we talk about white privilege, I think we put too much emphasis on the word privilege. And the thing is, it's not saying that you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. It's not saying that it's not saying that at all. What it is saying is the system is set up so that you
have a leg up.
You have a leg up on anybody that is not white. I mean, and that's just for me, it's like a period at the end of that sentence. It's not comma, but in these instances, because I can, to Dominique's point, every single interaction that I've ever had with any police has been a pleasant one. I mean, I've had flat tires on 95 and the cop has stopped, helped me with the tire, put me in his car, taking me off the exit, helped me buy another tire, came back and helped me put it back on. Like, I have not had a difficult situation with the police officer, but I know that my experience isn't everybody's experience, and I know that had the thing is there are implicit biases in the system that is set up for white people to be to have a leg up on people who are not white.
And please note that it's not just criminal justice. I think that is the big thing right now because of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and other deaths that have really kind of galvanized us in this season to really kind of mobilize and address. But it's not just the criminal justice system. It's also our educational system.
Every system
also our neighborhoods and how our neighborhoods are funded and treated and supported through government agencies, community-based agencies. It's a whole gamut of implicit bias and just social collective injustices in every area. If you really go down and intentionally research, it's everywhere.
It's the real estate system. It's the banking system.
Absolutely.
It's you have jobs now, and granted, we might be guilty of this as well. I mean, I definitely try not to be, but you have systems where you might get a resume in and might not even get somebody a resume because they sound too black. That is an implicit bias. Like it's infuriating, and I get passionate about the situation.
Go ahead,
because
April.
we have to go ahead, April.
No.
No, I want you to finish, Jack. Sorry.
Comment. Yeah, but I basically, when it comes to issues that we have with bias, right? So we talk about someone like Jax never having an experience where he's been pulled over, like aggressively handled. And then, I'm not sure if Dante or I know Dominique mentioned that she has not,
I haven't.
I know that I understand that there are African Americans who are looked at as more threatening, and it's not always. And so that bias. Now, is it all? I guess the question becomes: is it that there is a culture that we also take part in cultivating with? I don't want to say our hair is unkept or our pants are sagging, and that warrants you aggressively handling me. But there is a culture that is also where we help cultivate in a way where I don't always respect authority, or I'm always I may be a little bit more loud, and because of that, people find me threatening. And so my stature, I think I mentioned that before, I may be a little bit more tall. I look aggressive. I'm a thug. Like you even heard the president.
It doesn't matter if I was.
That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter if I was the drug lord of Jacksonville, Florida. I still treated as equally as the mayor of Jacksonville.
Correct, and that's because this person's job is to protect and serve, not protect and serve only if you don't look threatening, not protect and serve only if you're right. Protect and serve. I don't care if I'm out here with my pants below my behind, like to my ankles, with dreads down to my back, with not a bath in the last 7 days. I need to be given the same respect
Absolutely.
as a councilman or as a man, because I'm a person. Has nothing at all to do with looks, has nothing at all to do with anything else. And that is the problem, is that a lot of these people will use that. Well, he must have it because, or he must have Jordans on it because he's got loud music in his car, and he got high rims, and he must be. And that's the point of the matter.
Not
Is your
always
job is
the
to
case.
protect. Your job is to protect and serve, not protect, serve, and judge. Not protect, serve, and make sure that your job is to protect and serve. So all of these implicit bias of, well, you should just assimilate to everything that we're doing, just get rid of all your culture whatsoever, get rid of everything you want to do, and just assimilate to what we want to do, so that we don't feel as threatened, even though we're going to say that we still feel threatened because you're Black in anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I kind of agree with April, though. I think that we play a part in this. Okay, don't take what I'm saying to say that incidents aren't happening. Don't take what I'm about to say as if there are not disparities in every industry in our country when it comes to, who we see at the top and who we don't see at the top. Right. So I'm not taking like that's absolutely facts, truth. We can't run away from that. But I also would have to agree that we, as we are subscribing as well to this culture, and we're not. And I think a lot of times not doing all that we can do to help shift it forward. For example, a lot of people aren't teaching their kids that that they can be police officers and be people that are in these higher positions. We're not pushing them forward. We're not giving them with those positive sides of the coin. Because our kids being in those positions, our kids, the next generation that is important for our people to continue to move forward. But if we're not even encouraging them to step up and become judges, step up to become sheriffs, step up to become doctors, step up to become CEOs and CFOs and COOs of companies, then at that point, we're helping to shape the culture that white privilege exists. I definitely believe in implicit bias 100%, and I definitely believe in discrimination, and I definitely believe the people who have those mindsets in those powerful positions abuse their authority. But there's no white person. I am in a much better position than a lot of white people. I know the three of y'all Black people that's sitting right here on this show is in a much better position than a lot of white people. So my rhetoric for myself, I try to be careful of the things that I'm saying. I don't want to say that I agree that there's a privilege for you being white. I will say that the system is rigged, and we got to help to fix the rigged system so we can be able to have the same level of playing field. But I don't want to, in my mouth, say that I believe there's a white privilege that makes them better than me.
Yeah, I think that
white self-established. I'm sorry. Go ahead, April. I'll come back.
No, white privilege to me, it's just that we have to be clear on where we are in history, where we stand in history. Like, right. It was not very long. We have parents, and our parents, my parents, maybe Jack's parents, where they were around for civil rights movements, where things were segregated. Yep. People, there was a Black water fountain, and a white water fountain. Yeah. And so when we talk about privileges, that you could not sit on the bus in the front because there was a privilege to be able to sit in the front. So you, as an African American, needed to go towards the back. That was in our parents' lifetime. Okay, our parents. So when we know and understand where we are in history, then we can be able to understand that there are biases and privileges that are still lingering, that we need to still move through. However, like, you have to realize that our forefathers, our parents, our ancestors have created and paved a way for some laws to be changed that you don't feel that. So that privilege of being able to drink at a water fountain, I don't see one that says black or white anymore. That's not my lifetime, but it was my parents, not far in the past, not long ago. But I'm able to drink at that water fountain. I'm able to go to school where the schools were segregated, and I wasn't able to be at the same school as a white person. They had that history. So I guess the point of it is being able to understand the freedoms that we do have and taking advantage of those, because and taking advantage of the opportunities that are available, because I think that freedom starts here in the mind. And if you're still believing that you are captive and that you don't have privileges, I think this is where Dominique is going for. That if you are still believing that, you know what, the man is got their, they don't allow us to do anything. They're like always, there's always a leg up with white people. I can never get ahead. Then it will be true for you. Unfortunately, I think that will be your truth.
Yeah,
but I think that you have to be able to realize that there are opportunities that are available to you as an African American person, and there are other people that don't look like you, immigrants, that look at this country and say, you know what, this is the land of the free. But I think that a lot of times, because of how we were cultivated here in this country, we don't always take advantage of those privileges. We don't think of it as the land of the free. But you have to start to believe that, because or we'll go back, or you will always stay stagnant. That's my thought.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely understand your perspective. However, I want to look at it from a more intentional lens, right? So I do think that just as our ancestors and predecessors have really worked to change laws and kind of move the needle forward in terms of our communities and how we as a race of people are being treated, I do feel like there are a lot of strongholds that still plague our communities that we have the chance to really work diligently to draw attention to and alleviate. However, I think when we see instances of young boys and young girls being gunned down, even while in their bed sleeping, I think it shifts the thought process of how we should raise our children in present day society. We see that even with Breonna Taylor was in her bed, knocked out sleep. And she was
on the couch. State that.
On the couch. And my apologies. On the couch, sleep in her own home, not bothering anyone. And she was murdered. And so I think what happens is our culture, we still want our children to go to college. We still want our children to go into military or be successful in their own way. But we also our culture, our people have shifted from really focusing on, teaching our children or pouring into our children what this is. Those conversations, I do believe, are still happening in one aspect or another, but we're also teaching our children how to survive and how not to be gunned down and how not to be murdered. The conversation is our conversations with our kids are much different. And I don't have children, but I know from even what my parents, I'm a full grown adult, but even from what my parents have told me, about Dante, when you leave, even as an adult, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to handle yourself as a Black man in America. I think the conversations are shifted. These are not the same conversations that Jax probably would have with his boys as a Black man. It's probably not the same conversations that a white man would have with his sons.
That's where the privilege comes in.
I don't think that's privilege. I don't think that's privilege. I don't think that's a privilege.
Because I think it is a privilege because you don't have to worry about.
It's not a privilege. It's not a privilege. My son,
you don't have to worry about your child walking outside and just randomly getting gunned down by a police officer. You don't have to worry about, as a white man, every day when you send your child to school, whether he or she is going to come home safe and protected. You don't have to worry about if your child goes outside to jog in his own neighborhood that he plays, runs, and has friends in. You don't have to worry about if a neighbor
but that does not depend.
You don't have to worry about that as a white man. You don't have to worry about that. Me as a Black man, I worry every day about my brother.
Listen, my Black son who's 15 had a full-blown conversation with me that he ain't scared at all. He don't have a level of fear.
That's your child, but that's not a universal thought.
I know, but I'm just saying, hold on. Because Dominique grew up in the straight hood, and I have never had an experience in the hood. I'm talking about the hood. I have not
Sure.
had experience. My son has not had any experiences.
Praise
He
God.
has had experiences with other black people potentially hurting him in the hood more so than a white cop hurting him in the hood. When my son go outside now, he's not afraid that the police gonna bother him go out. He is aware that there are racist cops. He is aware that there are people who abuse their authority. So he is on the lookout for the behaviors that emulate people who may be taking authority. But when I ask him, are you afraid? What do you feel like your skin means for you in this society, in this culture? And he's like, me and my friends are like, I don't see nobody no different. Doesn't matter if I have more melanin than you. Like, you're not going to be better than me just because you're white. Like, these are words coming out of his mouth from his friend group.
Right.
So when I'm saying this,
I believe in that as
I don't
well.
want to subscribe to the word privilege. I think it is the implicit bias and discrimination that is still in the hearts of people in positions of authority that makes it difficult for people of color. And listen, it's people of authority. It 100% is people of authority in every facet of this society that makes it difficult. Because if people in authority had no implicit biasness and no discrimination, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
It's not just people who are in positions of authority, though. It has a lot of the black men, not just black people. I don't want to just make this a black conversation. A lot of the minorities that have been killed were not just killed by people who have badges and guns.
Yeah, they were killed by people in their community, by racist people. So let's talk about Ahmaud Arbery. He was gunned down by citizens in his neighborhood. The people of authority, aka the police, when they showed up on the scene, they got a phone call from their boss that said, do not arrest these men.
Correct.
People in authority making a bad decision is why Ahmaud and all their killers were not arrested day one.
But okay, I know on this show, we, because that is a privilege. But my thing is, I know we go definitions on this show, and I think that you have in your mind what you think privilege is, but the definition of privilege is a special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group. That's all it is. Has nothing at all to do. Hold up, because it has nothing at all to do with somebody being better. I don't think any person on this planet is better than me. Let's not get it twisted. It has nothing at all to do with being better or worse. I feel that they are better than me. It has everything to do with there is an advantage set up for you within the system that enables you to get a phone call and say, hey, don't arrest those guys. We don't have that. Does that make sense?
It does. So I guess the question would be then, based on, because I agree that there is privilege, and I don't think that Dominique is not saying that there is not bias or differences. I think she is using is intangible. But do we think as this movement for Black Lives Matter, and that we have the microphone, so to speak, the cameras on us now, is the movement to cancel that culture of privilege? Is that why we pull down statues? Is that why we say defund the police? Is the goal to cancel the privilege? Is that where we are? Because I'm trying to figure. I don't know what the end. I thought it was about criminal injustice.
Yeah. So I think Bernice King.
There's so many other things going on. What is the end goal?
I think Bernice King said it best. Bernice King said, "Justice for all should not be a question." That is the purpose of the Black Lives Matter movement, establishing justice and equality for all. We did it back in the 60s with March on Selma and all these other protests and marches and rallies that we created, where our communities galvanized and moved forward together with committed sense to achieve tangible results. We did it successfully because we understood the shared common goal. However, that ideology, I think we in a lot of instances have got too comfortable. And so now it's time for us to come back together and really, and I'm not no proponent for the Black Lives Matter movement. I really don't follow it like that. I do believe that equality for all is essential. However, my thought process is just that, what the Black Lives Matter movement stands for: establishing justice for all, because justice should not be a question. Micah 6:8 in the Bible tells us that. What does God require of you? To love justly, to show mercy. And so if in fact you Christian or not Christian, that should still be a common thought. And I think that that's generally what the Black Lives Matter movement does. Now, has it been washed down by different thought process and different emotions because our brothers and sisters are being gunned down, or because we feel we're not being equally treated equally? Absolutely. I think the Black Lives Matter does become fragmented when you don't keep the main thing the main thing.
Right.
But at
That's
the
where I'm at
core,
with it. I feel like that's
sure,
what's happened.
Right.
sure,
Because
sure.
I was gonna say, because our brother Terry Crews went on his Twitter and posted about unity and posted basically, I would say, different opinion than what the, let's say, the Black Lives Movement opinion is today, right? He was talking about unity, talking about love, saying that color doesn't matter, saying that we need to fight for injustices. However, comma, you know, we are equal in his mind. And he was cut and he got caned for. People were attacking him for his opinion about how he feels that we should be unified under Christ, because when you become in Christ, there is no separation of you're white, you're black, you're Hispanic, you're Chinese. It's none of that. We are one people. And he was basically being attacked for it. And then if I so should say, probably canceled in a lot of people's minds, in regards to his opinion about it,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm bringing it up. I'm bringing up even the whole conversation about, white privilege, because, we're so quick to cancel people's opinion about where they stand on our civil injustices that's taking place in our society today, right? So, did any of you see the video for Terry Crews in regards to his?
I saw it. I saw it. I think that one of the couple of things that stood out for me. I think that one, he did utilize the Love and Christian platform. The division, because you talked about, the question initially was, we think that division is inevitable? And one of the things that he said at the, in his statement was that, and I think that this is where people, like, their feathers were ruffled a lot, was that we don't want to, as the Black Lives Matter, don't want to get to a point where Black lives are better. And
Agree.
so a lot of people but you say agree, but there are
I
a lot
agree
of
with
people
that.
like, oh gosh, like, we're not saying Black Lives Matter is like Black lives are better. We're saying that, what, don't kill us. And so then it's like, he's insensitive to the movement. He needs to shut up. He doesn't need to say that. He can't, he's not for us if he is saying these things, and so
Right.
all lives matter. All Black lives matter is another thing that he said. That was the second thing. So all Black lives matter. And so that was another issue that he brought up. And so when he said that, was he brought it on himself. He said that, like, what, they want me to shut up and not say what I'm thinking. And so does my Black life not matter? But then also bringing up the same thing that Dominique said with African Americans in African American communities killing each other. Like, we have had a uptake of crime in some of our urban communities. Some people want
What is
to
that
say
based on?
that uptake could be from the police killing,
Correct,
killing
correct. Because
African
I'm not
Americans.
sure what that statistic is from. Because I'm not sure what that statistic is from,
Okay, well,
or
I
is
know
that just something they
definitely in
say on the media? Because
Chicago.
that's not.
Though, yeah, and definitely in Chicago. I'll just go with Chicago. That they had an uptake of some of the most, probably in the past 5 years, where they have had the most murders in a weekend. I think it was over Memorial Day weekend. And so, and these are in our community. So we can't, okay, so when we look I do have a problem with that. I have a problem with us, like, looking like, like, did we really, like, we don't hurt each other. We don't kill each other. Did that really happen? Like, no, Black people, like, I'm not saying that it is okay for police to kill African American males. But it is not okay for us to kill each other. We should be
Yeah.
just as
But
enraged
but
when we
but see,
hear everybody talks about Breonna Taylor, but we don't talk about the little kids that get shot like by a
yeah,
stray bullet,
yeah,
and that has
but
happened too. And like no one's enraged, no one's saying that baby's name. Do you know
yeah.
that baby's name? Do you know that baby's name? No, but we know Breonna Taylor, and I think that it sucks. I think it sucks that what happened to her. But we should, as African Americans, and this is where I get frustrated. I get frustrated when we don't want to hold each other accountable as well. And maybe, it's like, well, that's not the conversation. We're not talking about that. That's another movement. You get on that movement. That was the
Because
other
they
thing
are
that happened with.
because when you bring up those types of things, you are deterring from what the Black Lives Matter mission is. It's about the nonviolent civil and disobedient protests against incidents against police brutality and everything. So yes, we know that there is. Yeah,
Jack, that doesn't mean too. That doesn't mean too that the movement is not saying that if a black kills a black, that's fine. No, they're
yeah,
saying
that
nobody
doesn't mean that.
killing
But
anybody.
right, but we don't want
Yeah.
to deter away from the police brutality issue of it. Yes, we know that there is crime. And the thing is, people really they want to deter away from the actual issue by saying, well, what about this? And it's like, yes, we know that these things happen. The same way that there's black on black crime, there's white on black crime, there's Asian on Asian crime, there's Hispanic on Hispanic crime. But the media will have you think that it's black on black crime, but then it's also these other crimes here. That's not
So
realistic.
I don't think.
That's
I'm
not
sorry, y'all.
realistic.
Something's wrong
John,
with
your
my
picture
camera.
is off.
I know,
Yeah.
guys, something is wrong with my camera. I'm so sorry, viewers. I can't get it back on. However, my voice is still able to be heard. I mean, I agree. The part that I agree with Terry Crews is don't allow. I mean, I agree with a lot of what he said, but really, when he said don't allow the Black Lives Matter movement to transition into Black Lives Are Better, because it can easily get there. It can easily get there. Like, especially when people are not educated, because when people are not educated, when people don't really know what's going on, Dante said it the right word earlier, bandwagon jumpers. We got bandwagon jumpers. So people that'll say, for blackout days, the days where we're only supporting black businesses, people can take that and say that means that I'm only ever spend my money with black business. We are saying that black business only. They can get the perception that black businesses are better. They can get the perception that black money is better. Black people are better. And what I'm not saying that's the whole movement. What I'm saying is there are people that's a part of this movement that can easily transition from what Black Lives Matter was intended for to black people are better than white people, because there are certain, if you use the word privileges, if there's certain implicit biases, if there's certain experiences that some people have experienced, they can take it and shoot off with we're better.
Okay, so when you talk about the whole blackout day and all of that, so my thing is this: the point of doing that in the Black Lives Matter movement was to make sure that you realize how important this black life is. Meaning, when I say my black life, my black financial life, my black life, period. And the black dollar is very, very impactful. And so the point of that was to make them feel how powerful that black dollar was. Had nothing at all to do with being better. Had nothing at all to do with being worse. Had everything to do with look, I know my dollar matters, because when I don't spend my dollar, this is what happens.
But that doesn't take away the fact that there are people who are subscribing to the ideal that black people are better. So
hey,
I
but
understand.
that's not our problem. That's not our problem at all.
So what? But it is our problem that white people think that they're better than us. It's our problem if anybody thinks that anybody is better than anyone. That is our problem across the board, period. The whole point of me bringing it up is to say that I do agree with what his sentiment was, and we're looking to cancel him because a lot of people aren't agreeing with his opinion. My point is, we don't need to get into division because of his opinion. We don't need to be so quick to cancel people and cancel situations because either A, we don't identify, B, we don't, have
Agree
those
with it.
experience or agree, doesn't mean that we should just quickly cancel people. Because if you be honest about it, this Black Lives Movement has some areas where people have taken it too far. And that's
Absolutely.
it, period.
People take everything out of context,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's gonna happen regardless. For people is just people. You can't change how everybody feels. There's gonna be somebody who just does not go with what the standard is. However, the movement is doing just that. They're lifting a standard of how we should be treated, what justice for all really
Correct.
looks like, how to
Correct.
peacefully protest, how to really galvanize communities to really make or inflict positive change for everyone, something that everyone could believe in. How important the black dollar is, not to say that other dollars aren't important, but really how much of an asset our community could really, really be with education, which is the commonality in this whole conversation, understanding intentional productivity and understanding education for yourself so that you can make the right choices to be a part of the movement, not to be a part of the movement, or understand what equality really looks like for everybody.
Isn't it?
Now,
Isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it very? Isn't it? Isn't it almost eerie how in the 60s and you had the civil rights movement and everything, and I'm pretty sure people had these same conversations and trying
Same
to deflect and do this,
conversation.
but now we look back on it like, oh my god, it was the best, it had impactful. It's going to be the same thing here. Now we're doing the Black Lives Matter movement. People are going to be, oh my god, I don't know if I support it, I don't know if I do this, but wait 20 and 30 years and people will be like how impactful it was and how we press forward this, that, and the third. It's history repeating itself. And the thing
Absolutely.
is, I don't understand how people aren't on board, because they feel that, well, I know that they support all of this Black lives and people, wanting to be together and people having the same standard and everything. But since they said defund, oh my God, I don't know if I should do that. But you're gonna eliminate the 80% that is correct, and that people should be treated equally, but you're going to eliminate the whole thing just because you don't like this one little piece here.
I
Like
don't
this
think
just
it's about
it's
elimination. It's
for me
okay.
it's craziness. But go ahead.
No, to me, it's not about elimination. It's not about eliminating the whole movement. It's just a matter of understanding what the common goal is. What is the common goal? And so
Mm-hmm.
I am definitely for doing my part when it comes to one, hey, what can I do to help our community have a voice with the criminal justice system? Like, I know that we had talked about it in the past, that we need to understand legislation. We need to understand what our senators do. We understand that we have a right to vote now. And so that when we do have our right to vote, that we stand up and we do that. We understand who we're voting for. Those are important
Mm-hmm.
things. So, like, that's one of the things that like, okay, I'll use my voice. I'll go out. I've done it before. I'll knock on doors if I need to. I'll make sure that I'm like sending out email blasts or messages so that people know the links to go to so they can do the ballot. Like, I know I just sent out on Facebook a link for people to do the absentee ballot, because one, we're in a pandemic in the middle of all this mess as well.
Right.
Like and when I call it mess, meaning that we just have the climate is raw. The climate is we have a lot of issues that are happening right now in our climate. So when I say mess, that's what I mean. I don't mean that Black Lives Matter is a mess. I think that the idea of us bringing attention to the injustices that occur in African American communities when it's gunning down African Americans or killing African Americans and not being justly prosecuted for it is outrageous. So I'm in agreement with that. What I don't agree with, and I don't understand the defunding the police. Maybe I understand the defunding the police, but not right now. I don't think we're ready for it, in my opinion. And I can stand on my opinion on that and be okay with it. I don't understand the idea of us pulling down statues and changing names of products that that have been long-standing, that have had I know that they have negative tones to them. We've all known that Aunt Jemima has, like, that came from them making fun of African Americans and us having bandanas in our hair. So I'm not saying that none of these things don't matter, but is it the same as Black Lives Matter? I feel like all Black Lives Matter when it comes to killing each other and us being prosperous is more important than us pulling down a statue. That's important to me.
Well,
But
so just to give you some clarification, the defund
movement
of
to
the police
clarification.
Okay.
isn't the defund of the police isn't taking money out. I'm sure we've went over this before. It's taking money that is used for the police and putting it into programs that actually help
That's
communities
correct.
like education and things like and mental health and things like that.
That's correct.
Now back to the points about the statues and the changing the names of Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben's and whoever. I can't remember the exact Malcolm X quote, but for me, those are not big things. Those are crumbs. And the thing is, a lot of the times they will, and yes, I mean they will give you those things because they don't want to make real change. And so that means to take down the statues and all this stuff means absolutely nothing to me. I'm talking about reparations. I'm talking about equal rights when it comes to, I'm talking about a much bigger picture
Right.
that is actually going to help the community other than, oh, look, they took down the statue. Yay. Oh, look, they changed H Mama. Don't give me those crumbs. That for me is just very, very small potatoes when it comes to the bigger picture of how to elevate the actual Black community and have us feel like we are actually on the same playing field as our Caucasian counterparts. That's all
I
I
agree. And
I agree with that. In my opinion, is
That's where all I was trying to communicate.
no. So I get it, April. I get it. I get it.
don't. My opinion is at this point, I do agree that those are crumbs. I think that those are great initiatives to work on. I think that there are so many issues that we have the power to get to what network and get and mobilize on. However, I've even in the previous episode that we did when we talked about the statues being taken down, never was it my mandate or my mission or my belief that taking the statues down would be the end all be all. But while you have those Confederate statues up, while you have those Confederate flags up, while you're venerating and celebrating those who fought for slavery or who had slaves or whatever, why don't we add some statues of African Americans or Native Americans or Spanish Americans around our communities to represent all of us? I think the conversation is specifically this: justice for all, celebrating for all, unity
all.
for all, in diversity and inclusion. America should look like what it is, and it does not. And it does not look like that in our educational system. It does not look like that in our healthcare system. It does not look like that in our communities. It does not look like that for all of us. There are billions, thousands of white men and white women who have statues in their honor across this nation. However, I bet you can't tell me, aside from Dr. King and aside from Mayor McLeod Bethune in Statuary Hall in DC, tell me how many other African Americans there have been statues in parks, in townships, in city centers, in front of state capitals, in front of the White House. Tell me how many African Americans, Native Americans who were here before me, before us. Tell me how many statues of them plague our communities. It doesn't. Tell me how many other injustices, which we've discussed before. Black mothers who give birth but don't have equal access to health care and die during childbirth because of their lack of access, because of that white privilege, their inability to get quality health care. Those are instances that I think are not necessarily crumbs, because they're providing an inability for productivity long term.
Right.
I think that those are the conversations that we need to continue to have. That doesn't mean that in the next day, week, or month, or even year, it may come to pass, or it may be rectified. But at least one, we've addressed it. Two, we're willing to educate ourselves on what really is the matter. And then three, we're working diligently at some point It could be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years to start working diligently to ensure that those things are really being alleviated for the betterment of not just ourselves, but the next generation to come, which was the purpose of the 1960 boycott, which was the
Correct.
purpose of the March on Selma. It was not for Dr. King. It wasn't even for his children. It was for his children's children, as he
And
which is
stated.
us.
right.
So I
And the
want
thing
to,
is,
so, but okay, so I'm totally in agreement that these are things that we could see more positive statues or of African Americans that represent our history in this country. However, when we say that as Black Lives Matter, as this is what these are our demands, these are our asks. Is that our ask? I don't want us to get deterred or like we make it so we have so many demands and we have so many different things that we find injustice in that the main goal does not get accomplished. That's all. And the real thing is that we have a criminal justice system that is so unjust that that our African American men are criminalized at a higher greater rate than other cultures and other ethnicities, and we need to change that. So like that's all that I'm really trying to communicate here. And I guess at the end of the day is I also want to just reiterate that I believe that there are many things that we as African Americans can do in our own backyard to help as well. That I realize that there are things that are beyond our control, but there are so many things that are within our reach and within our control because of what you said, that we had people that were in the past who have created a platform and paved a way for us to have equal opportunities at education at some level. There are some nuances that we can change, that we can have access to housing. You're a realtor, Robert or Jax. Look, Robert, Jax is a realtor. He owns, I'm not going to go into his financial picture, but, he's a homeowner. I have
Really, Jackson?
yeah,
Really, Jackson?
Robert Jackson Group.
Realty. So, but the point of it is that there are, yes, look at that. An
Girl,
attorney,
get
African
that
American
picture
man
off
with
his
his own
card.
business and business card. Look at that. African Americans are able
He's
to
so
have
humble. Such a
businesses
humble
as
guy.
well. So, but the point of it is that we have opportunities and that we have to sometimes take a look at the man in the mirror. We can't always point fingers at the things. Sometimes I hurt they so much that they is like, and them, I'm like, okay, so when is it going to be a I and a we, and what can we do? Because there are things that we can do to help advance ourselves, that we don't have to rely on other people, because I think that there are things that are within our own reach that can help propel us forward just as much as us looking at our not just the criminal justice system, but looking at statutes and everything else. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. So I want to, we have reached the top of our hour, guys. This conversation has been absolutely so amazing. I can't believe an hour has flew by.
I can't even. I didn't even realize it.
I can't believe it. So, I do want us to tackle a couple of takeaway points that we wanted to share with you guys. If you're in here and you still rocking with us at an hour, honey, like, share, and subscribe. And we thank you for all of your support. But there are a few things that we do want to leave you guys with before we depart from this conversation. The first thing is, do not be so quick to cancel something or someone. Okay? Do not be so quick to cancel it, because everyone's opinion is important to that person. And we have to have a level of open-mindedness to be able to see it from there. Here are a few questions that you can ask yourself before you jump to cancel someone. Question number 1, am I giving the people the benefit of the doubt from their post, their opinion, their viewpoint? Are we doing that? And if we're not doing that, I implore you to take a minute to do that, because they may be speaking the truth that you didn't know about, because it's not in your direct realm of influence, or it may be a piece of knowledge that you just didn't even know that was critical to the situation. The next question is, am I more committed to exposing, canceling someone than teaching them why they're wrong? So if somebody does have an opinion that maybe be off, that maybe is off base, that maybe does not have the full facts, how about we in love pull that person to a side, maybe go, send them a private message if you know them personally, maybe giving them a phone call and just say, hey, take a look at this book, take a look at this video, take a look at this documentary, because it may give you some additional insight to better your, to help shape your opinion a little bit more better. The next one, do I give the same grace for others that I give myself when I mess up? Come on, think about that. Before we go and canceling somebody because of their opinion, do you want somebody to cancel you because of your opinion? I'm going to leave that right there. Next one, has the person I'm canceling seemed to have made an honest effort towards the change? You might not agree, just like back in the day. Some people agree with Malcolm, some people agree with Martin, but at the end of the day, Malcolm and Martin had the same end goal. If Malcolm and Martin was here today, we'll have half the country canceling Martin, half the country canceling Malcolm. But it doesn't matter, because both of those individuals are going towards the same goal. Okay? Period. The next one. Understand that life is art and not a science. That means that there will be areas of gray that come into play a lot more. It's not always going to be 1 + 1 = 2. Sometimes there may be some other things thrown in the equation that gives us the same goal, but we have to be so open-minded that we see all areas that we can make improvements and, respect those areas. For example, April may be dead on serious about, only thing I need to be talking about is social injustice and how the law is going to be changed. Jazz could say, listen, I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about what's going on with my financial picture too. Dante could say, listen, I want to talk about those two things, plus I want to talk about mental health initiatives, and I want to talk about, welfare initiatives and other initiatives that plague or could benefit our inner city underserved communities. So there are a lot of different facets to this thing of injustice. I'm saying injustice as an overall slate because it is bigger than just criminal injustice. So we just need to understand that, this whole thing is not a science, it is art. And we just need to see it from the big picture and not through the one lens that we see through. And the last point is, it is okay to think independently from a group and to make sure to stay rooted in God's word. There is a standard that God gives us. And while we're fighting a good fight towards injustice, let's not downgrade or put to the side the standard that God has given to us. Because that standard, whether it is popular amongst culture or not, it is the only standard that is going to get us through to the next point. So stand firm on the things that you know is truth. Be open-minded to the things that you didn't know, and be open-minded to someone else's opinion. And we are going to be successful in conquering the injustices that plague the African American community. With that being said, we love each and every one of you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Listen to us on Anchor if you were not able to catch the live broadcast, and on Spotify. Until next week, we love you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.